everybody. I'm here with Nate Dostal. He dropped by today to do an interview for the Tattoo History book. Thanks for coming today, Nate.
Of course, man. Of course. Yeah.
While he was here, I wanted to do another artist spotlight, so he graciously agreed to do this spotlight video. I appreciate that.
Of course. No worries, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dig right into it. I sort of became aware of your tattooing only about a year ago.
Yeah.
And as soon as you fell into my peripheral, I thought, I got to interview this guy. Like I fell in love with your style.
Yeah.
I love, going through all your work, and trust me, I've crawled through all of your work on social media.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. And there's this aliveness to the work. And more recently, when I look at your tattoos, I see this, the fit and flow just works on the body so well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hearing about your process, it all sort of makes sense now. Like now that you've started drawing them on the skin and, you're really paying attention to all that. But yeah, again, it's an honor to meet you.
Oh, thank you. It's been an honor to be included in a project that includes such, well-respected or just OG monsters in the industry, to be included is huge. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm. Well, you certainly, you've been tattooing 13 years, but you've got some street cred. You've earned their stripes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was being in Cambridge for 6 years and now in London for 7 years. It's inevitable, but you leave your mark on enough people. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say street cred, I mean, you went through a traditional apprenticeship. So let's dial back to how did you first get interested in doing tattoos? Yeah.
So, initially just had a general interest in art. My dad had tattoos. He, had a couple not great tattoos, but that sort of sparked the interest in high school of just art in general. I was always interested in tattoos. I wanted tattoos, but I wasn't allowed to have tattoos. But at some point, my mother had suggested asking the shop in town if they would teach me. And so I wandered in there, and after a bit of conversation, they told me I could start whenever. So I picked up the broom and began my apprenticeship. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in the interview here. Yeah. You walk in and you start that day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was in Port Dover.
It's in Port Dover.
Yeah, at Steel and Ink.
Steel and Ink, yeah. I think the manager's name was Ron. I don't remember his last name. And then Edwin Diet was my mentor. Yeah.
So you stayed there for about a year, then you moved on to Cambridge, from what I
understand. With a little gap in between. I was working and just trying to make some money out of high school while looking for a new apprenticeship. And I was brief about it, but I ended up coming into contact with a few artists, Billy Anand and Kevin Shepard, and met them. But then eventually I landed the spot in Cambridge, with old coworkers from Port Dover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you stayed in Cambridge for about 6 years.
Yep.
And then that's when you made your way into London.
Yep.
Where did you go when you first moved to London?
So we started at True Love Tattoos. And we were there for just about 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a very pivotal point in my tattoo career as far as, just a completely new environment. It was the first shop I'd worked in since the shop I learned in or began my career in. So everything felt very new and scary, but exciting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of a pivotal point in your career at that point, going from Cambridge to more like a street shop, old school kind of run.
Yep.
And now you're at True Love doing more custom tattoos and kind of honing your style. And
pretty much, yeah. It just felt like as the artist, there was more trust in me from the client, and less, I guess you call it maybe micromanaging designs and everything that comes with it. So it really gave me a chance to hone in on what I wanted to be doing and where I wanted to take my tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so after you left True Love, you went into like a private studio setting. Yep. How did you like working in that sort of arrangement?
I liked it. I'm always a quiet guy in general by nature. I speak when spoken to. But the private studio was just a nice place for us to feel comfortable and have our clients come for their tattoo sessions. We didn't really need any advertising or anything because we were pretty busy. So it was just a nice, comfortable space for everybody to come and hang out, and we'd watch a movie or 4 movies. I think we watched The Office in its entirety 2 times, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was just nice and comfortable, and it felt like it was our house finally. Yeah.
How was your work changing at that point in your career?
I started leaning a little bit more into the dark realism than just the everyday realism, trying to implement a little bit of my personality into my realism style. So just doing a little bit more darker subject matter, while still maintaining that realism aspect of tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
So more just skulls and Gothic architecture, devil girl faces and stuff like that.
Yeah. Is that your style that you do today? Is this something that you always liked, that style of artwork, or where does that come from?
Yes and no. I mean, it's evolved as I've tattooed. I've seen, other artists and sort of gotten inspired by certain styles that weren't necessarily being done when I got into tattooing. So initially I got into tattooing wanting to, do traditional and American traditional type work, neo-traditional, anything that was, bold and vibrant and bright. And then through, the early stages of my career, I was inspired by a guy named Jay French, who was a portrait artist. And then so my crosshairs were on portraits, and that led me just inevitably into realism and everything included. And then as time went on, I just wanted to feel more like more of myself in my work. So I started to try and include that dark aspect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what do you really love about the work that you're doing now and your tattooing as a whole?
I love that I'm feeling more challenged every day now than I ever was as far as doing freehand and having an understanding of certain things. I love just the way that freehand fits on the body or suits the body. It almost looks like it was meant to be there. You can really play around with the anatomy and poke around and prod at parts of the body. And, as an example, my buddy Derek Derrickson, when he did this, he was poking around at my elbow and ended up turning my elbow into I don't know if you can see it, but a knot. Okay, one of those cool little bio knots. Sure, and so that was a moment where it's like, wow, freehand, you can really, complement someone's body or contouring or whatnot. And I really learned that you can really clash putting 2 shapes against each other as far as like when you're doing realism, having to keep those same things in mind, but then you're so limited to selection of images that you find that you're almost never going to find the perfect image or angle. Whereas with freehand, you can kind of just see it on there and draw it on there as it should be. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And currently you work at Empire Tattoo. Yep. So tell us a little bit about the birth of Empire.
So it was the tail end of our private studio with Will and myself, and my daughter was just being born. I wanted a little bit less work and just to focus on family. And I know Will was really gearing up and excited to have his own shop, and it was always in his mindset that he wanted to have Empire in general. Even back to the True Love days, I know Empire was a thing that he wanted to do. So it just seemed like the timing was perfect where I could step back and he could step up. And so yeah, he started Empire. He put a lot of work. He put probably 3 or 4 months or more into just getting everything painted and renovated and ready. And And then right around the same time it opened, my daughter was born. So, yeah.
And that was in 2022?
2022, yeah.
So before you started working at Empire and you were working with Will Schmink.
Yep.
But before that, you and Will got sponsored and you were sort of doing a convention circuit?
Yeah. So in 2019, we were picked up by Primal Attitude, our friend Dom. And, we went on the convention circuit with him. He does, I think at the time he was doing 25 to 30 shows a year. So we did as many as we could. And, that year we hit probably 12 or 14 shows. And it was a huge learning experience. Yeah. Getting to sort of travel with a sponsor and, work under a name. I feel like after leaving the shop I learned in, I was sort of struggling with, who am I supporting kind of thing. And so Primal Attitude kind of gave me something new to put my efforts into, and just trying to build up the name of Primal in the same way I did with the shop I previously worked at. Just sort of, just shifted everything into just trying to travel and be part of Primal Attitude. And we were the faces, and, there was probably 15 or some odd artists. We were all the face of Primal. So it was a cool experience and a new family to be a part of.
Yeah. And so what did you sort of, pull from that? What did you learn from that experience?
I learned that traveling and tattoo conventions are expensive, but also made a lot of cool friends, who to this day I still cherish. Just don't get to see if you're not traveling, you're not seeing each other. So, but yeah, it was a huge point in our careers as far as, just seeing other ways of operating, and seeing other artists and other shops, or, just having different experiences across the board sort of, made us look at our home life and our home scenario and think, well, why don't we open, our own, and that's how we, ended up with Inner Circle, just through all the traveling. But yeah, the whole experience with Primal Attitude, it was great. It was cool. He introduced us to a lot of bigger names, and, that helped in the long run. I know Will got close with Mike DeVries and picked up, Wipeouts as a sponsor. And so that was, just one of those, experiences that we got thanks to Primal. Yeah.
And I would love to do an artist spotlight with Will Schmink as well. Like, his work is really awesome.
It's super striking. I feel like every time he's got a client in, I don't even have to go over there to see what he's doing. I could see it from across the room. Yeah. It's very bold. It's nice.
Yeah. Large format. And
his layouts. I feel like the way he builds his sleeves, really inspires me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting, interviewing him, and really great guy.
Oh yeah.
A lot of respect for him as well.
Yeah, he's great.
So in the last couple interviews, I interviewed Malibu Bud, and I also interviewed Damian Robertson, and I asked them, like, what advice would you give other tattooists in the industry today, or do you have any sort of words of wisdom?
As for like somebody getting into it or looking to get into it, or just in general?
In general, to your fellow artists, because in the recent times here, we've seen a bit of there's not as many clients for some of the tattooists out there, and there's been sort of a struggle for some to keep their head above water.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who's, dealing with that myself, as far as not being as busy as I once was, I'd say just keep at it, or draw more, or if, like in my case, if I'm not as busy as I'd like to be, I'm going to start doing up for grabs, having options for people, things for people to choose from, because especially in my style, people don't really know what they want sometimes. They just like dark stuff, and it's easy for people to kind of pick out of a book and choose. Even though I don't practice that as much as I should. I don't have any up for grabs very often, but that would be my advice, is just kind of, I don't know, stick to what you believe in and want to be tattooing. as far as, it's hard because right now I think everybody's feeling it a little bit as far as, like the saturation of clients is sort of dispersed because there's so many artists to go to and so many price points. There's always somebody cheaper or there's, somebody else. So I guess the hard part is just trying to keep selling yourself as the guy that people want, like you want to be the guy to go to for that, and just sort of find your niche, find where you kind of fit in and then lean into it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, when I look at your online presentation, you certainly have carved out a position in your style of tattooing.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're doing a great job with that.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. If you're not busy, get busy.
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of reels and stuff on the subject and and it is true is that if there's something missing, you kind of have to fill it and find that void and make yourself make yourself busy.
Yeah. And I've been noticing people doing more flash sheets. Kurt Wiscombe just mailed me a sheet of flash that he produced. If you're looking for a dark style tattoo, and Nate's definitely a big contender in this area.
Thanks,
if you want to get one of those style of tattoos.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Of course. Yeah.
It's such a pleasure to interview you. And again, I look up to your work in so many ways.
Thanks,
and
man.
It's inspiring me when I look at, the generation before me or after me, sorry. It's really inspiring to see tattooing doing like the artistry evolving so much.
It is, yeah. And every time I open my phone and look on Instagram, it kind of just blows my mind at how incredibly talented some people are. And of course, like from the outside looking in, it's just like it feels like raw, natural talent. But I'm sure these guys have put in their work and their hours and honed their craft the same way any of us do, mm-hmm. And go through the same personal struggles. But it's just that the Instagram effect where, you idolize these somewhat celebrities, but they're just human like the rest of us, right? And we're all in the same kind of boat doing the same craft,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's some insane talent out there nowadays. So much to be inspired by.
Yeah, and I think that's what sort of keeps driving my buzz is I see so much amazing work that's so many steps beyond my work, but instead of feeling bad about what I'm doing, I just work harder.
Well, yeah, you kind of take a step back and you're like, well, what could I do to improve this or that aspect? As far as for me, like I've always struggled with hand tattoos, but I've seen people do a one and done hand tattoo and it heals great. So in my mind is just telling me it can be done. So there's no excuse, you know what I mean? Figure out what you're doing wrong or figure out, that's just as one example, but, yeah, it could always be figured out. If one guy can do it, there's no reason you can't do it,
That's right.
As far as like healing or even just seeing that piece that you think, you hate yourself now because you'll never be able to achieve something like that, which isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just takes the work and steps, to get there.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, everybody, thanks for watching. I can't wait to show this video to everyone.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how awkward I am.
We're all awkward.
Yeah.
We're in a strange world.
Yeah, right.
All right. Again, thanks, Nate.
Of course, man. Sweaty handshake.
That's okay.
Yeah.